It is the fastest street circuit in the world. It's bound to bring some excitement, and it didn't disappoint for sure.
Welcome to the paddock, everybody. It is Jeddah recap show. What a race. Lots to
Yes.
talk about. F1
Saudi
fans
Arabia
TV.
Grand Prix.
Yes.
Yeah, baby.
We got our first guest, which I'm very excited to have on the show. Instagram Live. Thank you for tuning in here. We got my relative and friend, racing family blood, Jordan King. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, boys, for having me. Appreciate it. Feel pretty honored to be the first guest of the show. Love what you guys are doing and catching your groove. And yeah, stoked to be on the show.
Yeah, awesome, brother. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. We're stoked to have you.
Zooming in, but yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, close. Next one, when we blow up, we'll just fly you in. You can stay, hang out. We'll just make a full episode.
Yeah, no, next time, my girlfriend's parents live down in the Temecula area. So next time we're in town, it's going to slide through for a show.
For sure.
Do it in person.
For sure.
So give us your thoughts on the race today.
Man, Max Verstappen, what a machine. There was a point right there after the safety car that I really thought that he was gonna. I was like, uh-oh, dude, he's starting fourth on some new tires. Like, watch out, dude, he's going straight to the front. But that's good, man. Jeddah's turning out to be like one of those tracks that got the drama. It's got this like the street circuit vibe with the safety car aspect to it, but super fast and lots of overtaking zones. And yeah, turning out to like, at first I wasn't a big fan, but now I'm kind of definitely into it.
Yeah, it is the fastest street circuit in the world. So it's bound to bring some excitement, and it didn't disappoint for sure. Max starting in 15th with
definitely made it interesting.
So I think that spiced things up right from the get-go. I personally thought that Checo had a fantastic race.
Yep.
It was looking like strategy was going to be a little questionable with the safety car.
Let's talk about strategy. I think I have a theory out there that thank you. A couple more people on Instagram Live. Thanks for the comments. Great race today. Yes, great race. Just want to acknowledge you guys. So I have a theory
edit that out.
That Stroll did something on purpose to help out Alonso. I feel like he didn't pull all the way through the barrier to catch that safety car. He probably could have coasted that bad mamma jamma through the barrier so that safety car might not have had to get deployed. So I think there could have been some tactics there. I don't know. They never played any radio, or maybe he just took that upon himself to be like, yeah, I'm going to accidentally cause the safety car because he knew his shit was done anyways. So I'm curious. That's my own personal theory. I don't have any evidence to back that. And then with the 5 seconds to go, or it's the laps to go, and they wanted 5 seconds in between him and George. And then he got the penalty, and then it got recalled. I don't know. There's a lot of drama there at the end of the race. So I'm kind of curious if there was any team tactics there. I don't know. What do you think, Jordan?
I don't know why you would I guess it makes sense. Like if you have a car that's it's going to DNF, right? Then like obviously it makes sense to stack the field back up. But just on your pace alone, like those first couple laps, like Alonso was on it. Like on the green flag, he got the jump. Obviously, he kind of shot himself in the foot with the start fault and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think the Aston Martin's got pace. It's going to be interesting to see once we get into some tighter tracks like coming up, like Melbourne, for example. Like the first couple tracks this year really suited Red Bull straight line speed, right? Like you get to see it. They're clearly faster than everybody else. Like no drag whatsoever. But once you start getting into like Melbourne and then you get to, Azerbaijan after that's going to be another Red Bull track. But like when you get to the Emilia Romagna, like those high speed corners, slow corners and stuff like that, I think where the downforce aspect that, Aston Martin may have the advantage. It's gonna be cool. It's weird to see a green car up front. It's always been silver or black and red. It's good to have some healthy competition. I think that's been the greatest part about this whole new aero package is that it's part of it.
Zach's comment on Instagram says McLaren getting better each and every week. And man, if we want to dab on McLaren there, Raina's laughing in the comments about, oh my God, McLaren is just on the struggle bus. Lando, I was like, okay, Lando can make some stuff happen. And then he just went backwards. Towards the end, it's great to watch him battle for, 16th, and it's always that group from like 14th back to like 17th was all actually really close. Like if you watch that driving, like they were wing to wing every corner for like probably the last 10 laps, which was pretty gnarly. And I mean, great driving by Logan. It just kind of shitty that he wasn't able to make it happen. I know he was riding the AlphaTauri really bad for a minute, and he wanted it, but he just couldn't make it stick. And then going back into the pack more, or going forward in the pack, K-Mag making that pass on, who did K-Mag make that on? Yuki. Yeah, on Yuki. So I mean, I'm wearing an AlphaTauri shirt, but I'm really stoked that I mean, you can't dock K-Mag. K-Mag's a legend. I'm stoked that he was on and he was able to make it happen, get that point for Haas, because I mean, Haas is our American team, right? So we got to root for those guys. So all in all, I mean, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely look competitive too, right? Like, you know, they've struggled hard for a couple of seasons, but you know, since that new investment with the aero package and all that, like, kind of turned the page. It's nice to see them competitive, not racing for 19th and 20th spot on the grid with poor Mick a few years ago. That was rough.
Yeah. We were, you know, I first want to touch on what you said about Alonso and how nice it is to see an Aston Martin up there, you know, battling for podiums and potentially maybe race wins later on in the season. I think it's so exciting. I think a lot of fans want to see more of the teams up there battling for those instead of just a one-off with a crazy rain or something like that, you know. But yeah, I also think that it's kind of wild that Ferrari is struggling so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, when you have a veteran jump from one team to another, and obviously Alonso's kind of bounced around from, you know, McLaren and like mid-table teams, but I think he's got a genuine shot to fight for top 3 or top 4 in the points this year, which is great to see him because he hasn't been competitive since, I mean, Ferrari days. Like, I mean, it's been 10 years since he's, I mean, obviously, like, if the cards fall on the table the right way, you can never pass up Fernando Alonso to grab a pole or snag a win or something like that.
At least be real competitive.
It's cool to see him. Yeah, no, exactly. Don't count out Mercedes. I think they looked way better this week than they did 2 weeks ago in Bahrain. They might be a little bit more sharing of information, obviously, because Mercedes is the engine supplier to Aston Martin.
Well, so they also got their old lead designer back. I forget his name. I'll have to plug it in and throw up a picture, but I remember last year, I don't know that I saw him in any of like the post-race debriefs, so maybe he wasn't there last year. He's designing for it's either Formula E or the some off-road series. I don't know if it's the one that Lewis has a team in or not, but so they called him back in now. He was now back there doing work this race. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. I think he was a part of their previous 8 championships. So maybe.
As much as I am not a George Russell fan, and I'm just loving the Instagram live right now, it's just blowing up, and I'm laughing hysterically because Zach is plugging Williams and George, and the spa days and everything is just booming right now. So Instagram live chat is just blowing up, and I'm loving it. But I will give credit to George. He's been wheeling the Mercedes, and he's been outperforming Lewis, which I'm fine with him outperforming Lewis because I would rather see somebody beat Lewis in the same equipment than see Lewis perform. Just because I think we're so used to seeing Lewis be so dominant, and you kind of want to see where's the grid at. Is he going to struggle? I mean, there's even rumors going around that he's going to leave at the end of this year, and I don't know. Those are pretty wild.
Ferrari.
Yeah, go to Ferrari. No kind of wild rumors. I don't know how true that is because I'm pretty sure Lewis signed like a 5-year deal or something like that. But you know, I'm not opposed to hearing. I'm not opposed to seeing the drama. I'm not opposed to seeing George do better than him. George is growing on me more and more every day. Even in the post-race interview, George said, like, there's no reason Alonso should get docked. That's bullshit. Like, he totally deserves it. And I just watched
I'll take it. Thank you. But also, you know, Alonso really deserved to keep that win. And I'm glad that they overturned it. I was trying to find some more information to see, like, what actually was going on.
I think what happened was that they weren't allowed. They took too long to do that, right? I think per a rule, I didn't read the rule, but I was watching the comments on an F1 post. They said rule 16.12, you have 25 minutes to notify the driver and the team, and then the driver and the team have to acknowledge that going forward to accept the penalty, essentially. So they waited literally, and even Fernando said it in his interview. He's like, why did it take an hour for me to find out about this? Which, yeah, that incident happened on lap 20 or 22. So it was kind of shady by the FIA.
3/4 of the race.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, I agree. And I did finally see a video that they posted of two separate, like the rear jack touched the car and another mechanic's
like
hand on the car.
The hand on the side.
So I think that was a legit penalty. I think teams need to start practicing shit like that because that same thing happened to Alcon last race. And that's why a mechanic touched the car. That's why they originally got it. So, I mean, I know it's all.
Do you guys think that it should be something? Do you guys think it should be something along the lines to where in-race penalties should always just be served at the end of the race? Because now this is the second race in a row this season. Like, it's never been an issue before, and now all of a sudden it's an issue. Do you think they need to limit the people that go over the wall for, you know, the NASCAR term, I guess, for the pit stops? Like, you got 20 guys pit stopping one car, and one guy messes up, and poor dude's probably on an early flight home and never going to be on the team again, you know?
Yeah,
like, that's kind of crazy.
That's a great question, actually. I mean, but then they got to be fair across the board, right? I think, because honestly, I don't know. I feel like there's some politics involved with the FIA. I think the FIA is not it's a bias.
100%.
It's totally biased. I mean, and I don't care if the FIA ever watches this video, whether it's 5 years from now or tomorrow, whatever. I will call it out as the FIA is rigged. Then you see that just over the years. I mean, because it wasn't a Red Bull out front or it wasn't a Mercedes out front, we got to make sure somebody gets up in there. And I'm sure Mercedes or Red Bull's lining their pockets a little bit. I don't know. Maybe that's a hot take, but I definitely, maybe that would be a better idea. Just don't tell anybody what penalties are happening. And then at the end of the race, be like, cool, Red Bull, Ferrari, and Haas, you all got penalties. You're docked 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it is.
Yeah, but as a racer, I don't think that's feasible because you have track limits and you have different things. So it's going to determine how you race the rest of the race when you know. Like, okay, well, if I go over and I get track limits one more time, then my race is done.
Yeah, true.
You know, so like you can't just, well, you're done. And you're like, what? I had no warning. I didn't even know. Right. So maybe there's some discrepancy between which ones are that way and which ones aren't. But I think I like the idea of serving the penalties at the end, but you at least have an idea to know, like, hey, dude, you got to make up 15 fucking seconds because you fucked up twice. You know, or like, okay, great. Well, like if you can make up that 15 seconds in the race, great. If you can't, then you lose, you know. I will say from a spectator point, as far as trying to understand where every racer's position is, when you serve it in the race, it's right there. You see what position they are in now. It's not, you're not having to wait till the end.
In real time.
Why did 5 of these positions change? So I don't know. How new is that rule? Because I feel like since I've been watching, it's always been that way, at least the last 3 seasons.
It's been around for a while, I believe. Like, obviously, I think it's just, like I said, everything is so, you're talking tenths of a second to mean 3 positions on a racetrack, right? So if Red Bull goes and has a 2.9 second pit stop and Ferrari has a 3.4 second pit stop, you could lose 2 spots, and that's
right.
Which is great now with the new rule changes and stuff. Like, these positions, you can catch back up and you can still overtake and pass. But in years past, it's like, dude, you drop two spots on pit lane, you're done. Like, your day's over. Like, just run around in 5th place all day. You know, you lost your podium.
On the contrary, they're racing so tight, so you may lose more positions with a shitty pit stop than maybe in past years also.
Especially this year.
I mean, like you were just saying that, like mid to last field battle with those 2 McLarens and was it? I think it was
and the
Nick
Alpha,
DeVries and the Alpha, right? Like everybody just 1, 2, 3, 4 right on everybody's, like, you know, tip to tail, man. It was cool to watch.
No, Sean's really talking shit about us in the chat right now. He's like, Tristan's used to the midfield guide, so that's why he's wearing a mid-pack shirt right now. So subtle jab on Instagram. We might start blocking people. I'm just kidding. We're not going to block anybody. We're going to deal with all the hate and praise all the same time.
Comes with it. I mean, I'm rocking McLaren, even though they're fucking awful, and everybody knows I'm a Mercedes guy. So I don't have any Mercedes swag. I should probably do that.
Let's talk about your fantasy. How'd your fantasy do today, Jordan?
I haven't even checked.
Not bad. I was a little concerned after qualifying. Obviously, you got Max, or I had Max in the lineup, and boom, scored 0 points in quali. That was was disappointing. But when he was on the hunt and the charge for coming up through the field, I was pretty stoked. But yeah, I had Stroll in the team as well, so that kind of hurt having him drop. But yeah, I got in late. Obviously, got the invite a little late and getting an account set up after basically pretty much race day last week. But yeah, I made a jump. I'm like mid-table right now, so I was impressed with the day. But
what's your team name?
Roscoe's Dog Food Budget.
Yes. All right.
I think Stroll, basically, the consensus that Stroll has totally bent over everybody on today's race, because I made the switch from Bottas, and who else did I have? I forgot who else I had, but I switched Bottas to Stroll and somebody.
I think Albon. You switched Albon too.
And I went to George and Stroll. After quali, I moved up to like third. I was stoked. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a good race. And Stroll just totally shafted me. So,
yeah. I moved down. I was in second place, tied for second. And then I went down to seventh after quali. But I think Max scored me some big points today. So I actually haven't even looked.
I think you're still in third. Yeah, they updated. I posted on the story. So if you're on the Instagram, definitely take a look at that. And I have a highlight reel, so it's going to update every race after quali. I will try to post it. It's only the top 1 through like 15 because we have like 35 people in there. So I'm not going to post all of it, but you could definitely go in there, go in the page. You can see the league. It's F1 Fantasy, F1 America Fantasy 2023. So definitely check that out. What else do we want to talk about? I mean, we talked about fantasy. Yeah, we want to definitely just dive into kind of your history, Jordan, in F1. How long you've been following it? I know you have a big racing family, right? So your dad was involved in moto, which that's how me and you connect really well. And then now he's over in the NASCAR scene, and you guys are big NASCAR lovers. So it's hard for me to get into NASCAR personally. I like the road courses, but to watch NASCAR every weekend, probably like you do, it's a little rough for me. So.
Yes. Oh, so also to segue, we're going to do a brief intro of this right now. And then what we're going to do, so everybody watching, we're actually going to cut and do a specific, our first F1 versus NASCAR, and kind of get into a little bit more of that battle. And we're just going to make that its own separate segment. So we'll still film it right now if you're cool with that, Jordan. And then we'll cut it into a separate
absolutely.
show. But I do want to get into it a little bit right now, just so everybody gets a little vibe about what it is, and also they can just learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah. Dude, I'm an absolute degenerate motorsport follower. Anything and everything with 4 wheels and a motor, I watch it. And man, my poor girlfriend puts up with so much for me. And she'll come out to the kitchen and at like 2:00 in the morning, and like she's like getting water, and she's like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, babe, like V8 Supercars is on, like live from Perth or whatever." But yeah, no. So like Tristan touched on it. My dad's pretty much been in motorsports my whole entire life. So started with IndyCar and kart days, like way back, and like going to like Long Beach Grand Prix when I was like 4. And as soon as you smell race fuel and like all that kind of stuff, it just doesn't leave. But right? Yeah, so my dad worked for Toyota Racing Development. He worked just alongside those guys, so primarily in NASCAR. Little known fact, a lot of people don't know, is Toyota actually used to have a Formula One team way back in the early 2000s. So that was like my first introduction to it, but never really understood it. It wasn't covered on ESPN. You had to like follow it on some website or whatever. And like you said, it's 4:00 in the morning. Nobody really cares. Like it was hard to follow the schedule because like NASCAR, it's every Sunday, right? Like it's like clockwork. And then it's Formula One is different. It's like 2 weeks on, weeks off, 3 races in a row, when, summer break, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I watch pretty much every form of racing that I can get my eyes on, anything from NASCAR, Formula One, World Rally, IMSA sports cars, drag racing, Formula Drift. Like that's just the coolest part about my dad's job is they've got so many different connections, and it's a personal attachment to me, right? Like, I go over to friends' houses that are engineers. Like I know what they're working on when they're at home. So it's cool to see all the hard work that the guys at the shop do. But yeah, I really got into Formula One via like video games, honestly. So like F1 game that Codemasters make like way back in the day, I picked it up on Xbox 360 like when I was in high school, and it was like, this is pretty cool. And then that was pre like Circuit of the Americas. So I was like, oh yeah, like where's the old Indianapolis track? And I'm like, oh man, they don't race there anymore. But yeah, no, I've obviously Drive to Survive has been a huge push for here in the U.S., and that is just really cool to kind of see, like, as an avid follower, the behind the scenes aspect to it. But yeah, man, I've been watching any form of motorsport since I can turn on a TV.
I do have a question about that. I don't know if you can confirm this. I heard that Drive to Survive was supposed to do a NASCAR spinoff, which we obviously saw them do the golf spinoff, Full Swing, which I'm pretty sure that's the same production crew. So I was told, like, this was almost like 2 years ago now, that NASCAR was supposed to get their own spinoff, but I haven't seen anything, haven't heard anything. Nobody's been able to confirm that.
Yeah, no, they definitely did. It's on NBC. So if you have Peacock, it's a show, I think it's called Race for the Championship, and it started last season. And they kind of broke it up, and it was almost in real time. So it's like 10 or 12 episodes too of like the whole entire NASCAR series and their kind of version of it. I think it does a really good job on it. No, it's on NBC and Peacock. I think it's on USA or something like that.
They took the concept though and did the same thing, but just with a different network.
100%.
Got it. No, good to know.
100%.
I mean, that's where I watch Supercross, so I'll definitely peek at that. I think it's seen it pop up on Peacock, but I haven't actually watched it or anything like that. And I normally watch the road courses and stuff like that. I've been to Sonoma. That's the only road course I've been to. I've been to Fontana a handful of times as a kid. So yeah, I actually think NASCAR races at COTA next week. I'm pretty sure. Oh, there.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Isn't Kimmy doing that? Or is he doing Indy?
Yeah, so he's racing for
NASCAR.
Yeah, so he's racing for he's got like 3 or 4 races that he does with Trackhouse Racing. With that group, he races for Chevy in the 91 project or whatever his race is. Yeah, it's called Race for the Championship. It's on Peacock.
Sweet.
Jordan, 2005 U.S. Grand Prix at Indy was the greatest race ever. Can you confirm or deny that statement?
With like what, the 6 race cars when they had the whole tire debacle?
I don't know. That's Sean commented in it, which we're gonna have Sean on in a couple weeks. But Sean commented that race 05 USGP at Indy was the best race ever.
Yeah, that had to be the race where it was terrible, where it was like back when they had multiple tire manufacturers. So it wasn't just Pirelli like it was now. It was like Bridgestone and somebody else. And it was like, yeah, so I think that was it. And one manufacturer was having really bad tire failures in like one of the high speed corners. They were just blowing tires left and right. And so like half the grid or more than half the grid like didn't show up for the race. They were like, no, driver safety. Yeah. So it was like, it was like 6 teams. It was like Ferrari, McLaren, and Renault or something like that happened to just be on this one brand of tire manufacturer that had nailed the compound for the week.
Sounds like Azerbaijan.
I'm pretty sure that's what he's referencing.
3 years ago, when Stroll's tire blew, Max's tire blew, like every shit was just hitting the fan left and right, and we were like, "Come on,
2021, I think."
Yeah, was that 3 years? 2 years ago?
Yeah,
it was like the first.
And then the year they had the main.
No, because it was during the championship battle between Max and Lewis, and Lewis had the opportunity to score huge points, and he didn't turn off magic on the reset, and he was in last.
Yeah,
he blew the corner.
He overshot the corner.
So that would have been 21.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, I mean,
still upset about that.
Salty Lewis Hamilton fan over here. No, definitely great to hear like the background you have, and that you're not just a Formula One or just a NASCAR guy. Like you literally follow everything. So you're definitely knowledgeable in that department. And plus, your dad probably has taught you, and you've seen some stuff from your dad, right? That most people wouldn't have seen. So, or you get to experience that stuff. I almost went to the Long Beach Grand Prix last year. I wanted to go so bad, and I just didn't pull the trigger. I think IndyCar is a lot more feasible for guys getting into the motorsport because it's close to Formula One, but it's not going to break the bank. You could go to, I was looking at tickets last year, IndyCar, you could go to either day for less than like $100. So you could go like the whole weekend for like $150, I thought it was. And then, I mean, I was looking at Texas last week, which is not bad once you think about it, but it's an expensive weekend at the end of the day for the average person trying to go watch. And then you're only seeing the cars for maybe 30 seconds because they're going so damn fast and they're ripping by you, which it's the whole experience and everything. But then you're thinking tickets, you're thinking hotel, the whole gambit.
I think we need to talk this more on the next segment.
The next segment? What segment?
Because then we can compare it to NASCAR.
Oh yeah,
because that leads into some of the questions I have too.
Okay, go for it. So you want to transition?
Do we want to start now?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we'll have to end the first one. Like, thank you guys for watching our post-race show about Saudi Arabian Grand Prix for race number 2. Join us on our next episode here with Jordan as we talk about Formula One versus NASCAR and other forms of racing.